All right, so we are going to make tortillas, and for that we just need 3 ingredients. One is the tortilla mix. We need 250 ml of water, warm water, lukewarm, and 2 tablespoons of oil. I just used whatever, regular cooking oil. You can use any oil you like. So we're gonna start by putting the tortilla mix in a mixer bowl of the stand mixer. All right. Then we're just basically gonna add the oil and the water. And away we go. We're going to use the paddle attachment, and we're going to beat it. Come on. We're going to beat it at medium speed, give or take, until it's all comes together. You might want to just scrape the sides and the bottom just to be sure you got all the flour incorporated, and then you're just going to keep beating it for a minute or 2 or 3 until you feel it's starting to thicken. So I mixed this for just about 2 minutes. See how it's already quite a bit thicker, and that's what we want. So we're gonna let this rest for about a half hour until it's nicely thickened and we can actually roll it out into proper tortillas. Okay, so we've let the dough rest about a half hour, give or take. It's thickened quite a bit, so it should be good to be rolled out into tortillas now. So this batch makes around 6 tortillas if you make them 8 to 9 inches big. If you want to make them smaller, that's fine too. Then you're probably going to get 7 or 8 out of it. So it's up to you. I've done it both ways. All right, see how it's nice and workable now. It shouldn't be too sticky, so just use some sort of gluten-free flour to flour your work surface. I like to work on a piece of parchment paper, but you can just work directly on your countertop or wherever you want to work. All right, so we're going to divide this into about 6 pieces, give or take, roughly the same size. Okay, we're going to work with 1 piece at a time here. Especially if you're new to rolling out tortillas and you're not 100% comfortable. You can roll out all your tortillas first and then turn your stove on and cook them all one after the other. I've made tortillas a few times now, so for me, I usually turn the stove on as soon as I get going and then I cook while I roll. But you do have to keep an eye on their tortillas so they don't burn in your frying pan, obviously. So there we go, we've shaped it into a rough ball and we're just going to roll it out. Give or take 8 to 9 inches. If you want to be fancy, you can use a pot lid to cut it out into a nice round shape, but this is just fine, just by itself. You keep rotating it, make sure it doesn't stick to anything, and work your way outward into a somewhat round shape. Like this. There you go. It's going to be quite thin, like you can see here, maybe like a millimeter thick or so. Make sure it doesn't stick anywhere before you move on. And we're going to show you now what it's going to look like in the frying pan. Okay, so I have heated up a non-stick pan, dry, no oil in it, over medium-ish heat, actually 1 step above medium, just because the stove is a bit slower than my other one. So you'll have to kind of get a feel for where your stove is at. So all we're going to do is we're going to peel the tortilla off of your work surface and just place it into here. If it happens to rip anywhere or, you know, it bunches up or whatever, you should be able to fix it for a little while. See, I just got a nice big tear here. That's okay. You just patch it up. It'll cook up fine. There you go. Then you're going to let it cook for 45 seconds to a minute or so till it dries up nicely. You'll see it puffing up and it will throw some bubbles as it cooks. Again, if you want them to look prettier, you can always use a pot lid that's about that size to cut out a nice round tortilla. That will make it look nicer, but either way is fine. They taste just as good. It's starting to throw some bubbles here in the middle, so that's good. That's a good sign. Let's check the underside. Oh yeah, nice light brown spots here. So that's when you know it's ready to be flipped. You flip it around and cook it for roughly the same amount of time again. Some nice big bubbles here in some spots, so that's good. That means the inside is cooking. Let's take a peek here. It's just about ready. I'll give it a few more seconds. It should be done. So what I usually do is I see how the nice brown spots here, that's what you want. So I usually place them on a plate and cover them in a towel or plastic wrap just to keep the steam trapped so they don't dry out and they stay nice and soft and pliable. So like I said, you can either roll out your tortillas as you cook them. You roll one as you cook. I find that gives you just about the right amount of time to get one tortilla rolled before the previous one is cooked. Or you can just roll them all out at once and then cook them one after the other. So here's your tortilla. Nice and soft, nice and pliable. It does have some stretch to it, so it doesn't break when you stuff it. You definitely want to cook these on the day that you're going to be eating them. They're okay the next day reheated, but they're not really the same. You can freeze them, but again, reheating them is not 100% the same. The texture is just slightly different. But either way, here you go, nice and stretchy. So you can just roll it whichever way you prefer to roll your tortilla. It's very nice and workable. And here you go. For your next fiesta, this is what you're gonna do.